I entered Japan with the image of bustling crowds, big colorful billboards, and lots of sushi and anime. While I got a taste of all those aspects, I experienced something much deeper. We visited 3 places in Japan that were rich with history and had deep roots. Learning all of this, I want to share my journey and my perspective of the time I spent in Japan with its culture, language, and most importantly, the people. Okinawa, the island located south of what is considered mainland Japan, is incredibly rich in culture, but has also been through some of the worst hardships during World War II. In 1972, Japan was able to regain control on the island after the US. Now, with all that history and history in the making, the US and Japan are building their alliance. Today, Okinawa has a total of 32 US military bases on its island. We were able to visit 3 bases: the Futenma Marine Corps Air Base, the White Beach Naval Station, and the Kadena Air Base. The officers and soldiers showed us around their bases and their overall livelihood, as well as showed us how they interact with the local communities around them, as it is something they should keep in mind since it is US bases on Okinawa land.
We do a wide range of programs out in the local community, but also to bring the local communities on the base. Over the course of the last 2 days, you guys heard about the Kadena Fest that just happened a couple months ago. I'm not sure if you heard about the Flightline Festival and MCS Futenma. You heard about White Beach Festival. Every single installation on island does a big event every year where we bring the local communities in. We also host a lot of the community groups to do ASA drumming and dancing on base, so that the military communities and the families can also learn and understand the culture. So we do a lot of cultural exchange. Is it enough? We can always do more. We're always looking for opportunities. We're always doing beach cleanups. We're trying to engage in local community partners, organizations, and individuals. So we're always looking for those opportunities out in town to bridge that gap.
Every base we visited, the commanding officers gave presentations including a lot of information about how the bases give back to the community. But after leaving the base, I felt a certain disconnect from the local community and the base. It felt like 2 different worlds in which the local side wielded less freedom. That feeling only grew when I spoke with this lady working near the airbase, where she explained her mother's experience during the war. She talked about the noise pollution and planes flying by as a normal occurrence and something that she deals with daily. Hearing her day-to-day troubles was disheartening, but more importantly, the kind of history it brings back for her is incredibly worse. The Battle of Okinawa started near the end of March of 1945. It was considered one of the most gruesome and deadly battles during World War II. It resulted in about 250,000 casualties, and of those, 150,000 of them were Japanese civilians. With Okinawa having the highest US military base concentration on its land, it instills that same fear in many residents that have heard stories of their ancestors that have dealt with the trauma of this battle. Due to this, the local communities don't feel as though the US will support them. Currently, there is a new construction to add a new base on Okinawa. Outside this construction are tents made by locals used to protest against the development of this new base. But something I noticed in Japanese culture, defying or even questioning the government is almost unheard of. This makes their reach and audience for the protest difficult to obtain. All my life living in the United States, I was taught about US history, There's a whole new perspective when you see history in front of you through the other lens. And what I mean by that is reading about a battle in American textbooks versus being on the land where it happened and listening to the stories of the people sharing their history. June 23rd is the Battle of Okinawa Memorial Day. We had the honor of attending a memorial service as well as visiting the memorial site. On this ground are the names of the people that have lost their lives in battle. Every year on this day, families visit their ancestors by their name. They give food and pray. I had the chance to talk with some of the families visiting, one even being a survivor of the battle. She lost her mother along with 8 of her brothers in the war. A few months before the battle started, she had been forced to evacuate to the Kyushu region of mainland Japan. It was part of a governmental policy to evacuate children and elderly people from Okinawa because they were considered useless in the battle.
Okinawa にたくさんアメリカの基地がありますよね。また新しい基地も作ってますけど、お母さんどんな風に感じてますか？
こんなのはね、やめさせてください。そして基地を撤去させてくださるようにお願いします。沖縄の人を犠牲にさせてまでもね、政府はね、基地を作るんですか。基地をなくして本当の沖縄の幸せを考えてくださいということですね。よろしくお願いします。ロシアもまたなんていうね、今の北朝鮮も、それからそばなんて言った？中国の方たちもみんな話し合いして、平和な世の中にさせてくれるようにお願いしたい。一緒に伝えるようにお願いしたいと思うと心とあって話し合いして理解してやめさせる方法しかないんじゃないですか。沖縄の人を沖縄のことを聞いてよく理解して沖縄を幸せにしてくださるようにお願いします。
I think speaking with her was one of the most profound conversations I've ever had. All she wanted right now was to be heard, to not have the trauma that all these survivors and families of survivors be overlooked by filling this land of history and hardship with military bases. Another survivor of the battle graciously agreed to speak with me.
夜は漢方石があって、もう兵隊さんもあれしてるところあれで突っ走っていってるから、お父さんまで山越えに行ってて、
お一人ではなくて何人かで
いっぱい
もうたくさん
家族で。
He could not speak anymore. The pain he bore even after all these years was too hard for him to continue to talk about this traumatic experience. It was heartbreaking. Now, there are hundreds of battles that have taken place in the history of our world, each with their own struggle, trauma, and story. But this is not a local issue. This is an international issue. We care a lot about what happens if something happens on our territory, but there's a lack of that same care when our country is disrupting other territories. But in the end, it all comes down to just being another minority issue. Like I mentioned before, Okinawa is far away from mainland Japan. The Japanese government agreed to have these US forces in Japan, but where they felt it was most convenient for them. As history has shown, the so-called higher power tends to always silence the minorities. I think of this experience in Okinawa as a symbol of that, a symbol of how something can hold an incredibly great deal of significance, but be so voiceless. And that's what needs to change in our society, because it matters to every individual dealing with injustice. So, this is my attempt to give one voice to this culturally beautiful island of Japan. I'll definitely be seeing you soon, Okinawa.